I knew something was wrong the moment I saw Deborah standing on my porch at 7 in the morning, clutching a manila folder like it was evidence from a crime scene. She wore that expression, the one that says she's been up half the night plotting how to make somebody miserable. Today, lucky me, I was the chosen one. She didn't waste a second. Warren Emerson, I'm here on behalf of the Pine Ridge Homeowners Association to deliver this notice of violation and fine. I was still in my thermal undershirt and jeans, cradling a mug of coffee, not even halfway awake, trying to wrap my head around what she'd just said. February in northern Colorado isn't for the faint of heart, especially out in Pine Ridge just outside Fort Collins. The snow hadn't let up for weeks. I'd spent hours on my plow truck clearing our private road, same road Deborah and her crowd needed every day. What violation, I asked, still not sure if this was some elaborate prank. She opened her folder with the flair of a magician. According to HOA bylaws section 12.4, residents are prohibited from creating unsightly visual disturbances that diminish the aesthetic value of the community. Your snow tire tracks have been deemed excessive and unattractive. I blinked. My tire tracks? She pointed at my old Ford F350 parked in the drive, plow blade still attached. You've left deep ruts on the main road. The board voted to fine you $500 per occurrence. 17 times in 2 weeks, that's $8,500. I nearly dropped my coffee. You're fining me for plowing the road, the one that'd be completely snowed in if I didn't. She smiled, lips pressed tight. For the unsightly tracks. If you're going to plow, do it so it doesn't leave marks. I stared, waiting for the punchline. It didn't come. That's not possible, Deborah. Plows leave tracks. That's how it works. She shoved the papers at me. You have 30 days to pay. If you continue, more fines will follow. Good day, Warren. She spun on her expensive boots and stormed back to her silver Lexus, leaving me standing there holding what had to be the dumbest fine in HOA history. I read the whole thing inside. 17 photos, each one documenting my offense. Dates, timestamps. Somebody had gotten up at dawn just to snap evidence. Most of them were taken during the worst of the storms. My phone rang. Marcus, my neighbor 3 doors down. Did you get a visit from the Wicked Witch? I sighed. $8,500 for plowing the road. You're kidding. Wish I was. He let out a whistle. That's nuts even for her. What are you gonna do? That was the question. I'd moved here 3 years back after my divorce, just wanting some quiet and space. Worked as a software consultant, didn't need much but internet and peace. The HOA had barely bothered me until Deborah got herself elected board president. Suddenly every petty rule was gospel. Gerald, her husband, seemed harmless enough, but I figured he'd given up arguing with her a long time ago. I'm not paying, I told Marcus. Not for helping people. Let me know if you need anything, man. After we hung up, I sat at my computer and dug through the HOA bylaws. Section 12.4 was there, but it was so vague, meant for junk cars, maybe not tire tracks. But nowhere did it say residents had to plow. The HOA was technically responsible for snow removal but had never arranged it. First winter I was here, I realized if I didn't clear the road, nobody would. I already owned the plow truck from my ranch days, so I just started doing it. No one asked, no one offered to pay, I just did it. Now the idea started forming. Not a nice one, but then again, $8,500 for doing a favor wasn't nice either. I called Janet, my lawyer from the divorce. She listened, asked for the paperwork, then called back an hour later. This is ridiculous, Warren. But if the bylaw exists and the board votes, they can assess the fine. You can appeal, but if Deborah runs the board, good luck. What if I just stop plowing? You're not obligated. Document everything. If they retaliate, we'll need it. That afternoon, I sent a polite but direct email to the entire board and every homeowner saying I'd received the fine, disagreed, would appeal, and effective immediately would no longer plow the private road. If my help was now a liability, I'd stop. The replies poured in. Most neighbors were supportive. Some offered to chip in. Others were furious at the board. Deborah's response came only to me. Your refusal to comply will be noted. Additional action will be discussed at our emergency meeting tonight. This behavior is unacceptable. That night, the snow came again, heavy and relentless. I watched from my window, whiskey in hand, wondering if I'd gone too far. Linda, a retired teacher 4 houses down, called to tell me she thought the board was being absurd and that I shouldn't worry about not plowing. Tom offered to brainstorm alternatives. Amy, who had 3 kids and a husband who traveled, understood but was stressed. Then at 9, my doorbell rang. It was Gerald, Deborah's husband. He looked nervous. Warren, sorry to bother you. Just wanted to say this is all crazy. I told Deborah, but you know how she is. They voted tonight if you don't plow $200 per day in fines. They can't be serious. She is. I just wanted to warn you. Why stay with her, Gerald? He shrugged. 30 years of marriage. You don't just walk away even if you should. Then he left, trudging back through the falling snow. The next morning, the neighborhood was a mess. 14 inches of powder. Most sedans couldn't move. Angry texts rolled in from the board demanding I plow. A few neighbors begged for help, but I stuck to my word and explained. The board threatened more fines. I ignored them. By noon, the whole place was gridlocked. A private company was hired, $500 per household as a special assessment. That caused an uproar. People demanded to know why we were paying $500 each when I'd done it for free. The board said I'd abandoned my duties. I reminded everyone I'd never had any duties and that the board had responded to my volunteer work by fining me. That Friday, the Pro Plow service came. Their giant machine left deeper ruts than mine ever had. I photographed everything. The board was silent on unsightly tracks. Over the weekend, Tom organized a recall petition against the board. Enough people signed to trigger a special election. Monday, I received a certified letter. The HOA was suing me for breach of contract, claiming I'd established a pattern of providing snow removal and had caused financial harm by stopping. I called Janet. She just laughed. There's no contract. You volunteered. This is retaliation. I'll file a response. The recall election was 3 weeks away. 21 out of 32 homeowners signed on. The board sent a letter blaming a resident who violated standards. Everybody knew who they meant. The community Facebook group turned into a battleground. Then twist incoming on a stormy Tuesday night, the pro service didn't show. The board hadn't paid them. Another 6 inches fell. I was working late when Marcus burst in, panicked. It's Amy Richardson. Her son cut himself bad. Ambulance is stuck at the entrance. Too much snow. No time to think. I grabbed my keys jacket, fired up the plow truck, and barreled down to the entrance. The ambulance was spinning its wheels, stuck in the drift. I cleared a path fast as I could, then led them to Amy's house. Jake, her 9-year-old, had cut his forearm. It was bad, but not life-threatening if he got help. The paramedics loaded him up, Amy crying thanks through the window. I cleared the way back to the main road, then without being asked, plowed the entire neighborhood. When I got home, neighbors lined the road, clapping, calling out thanks. Linda was in tears. Deborah was nowhere to be seen. By morning, the story had spread. The Facebook group exploded. Someone pointed out that if Jake's injury had been worse, the board's fines could have caused a tragedy. The conversation shifted from HOA politics to safety. In quick order, Susan Carmichael resigned and publicly apologized. The local news picked up the story. A TV crew interviewed me, ran the headline, HOA fines volunteer, nearly blocks ambulance. Amy cried on camera, thanking me for saving her son. The story went viral. Then the HOA's insurance rep called. She was concerned about liability. We've advised the board to rescind all fines and apologize. If they don't, we'll reconsider their coverage. Recall election day. Deborah, Susan, and Robert were all ousted. Tom Wheeler became president, Linda vice president, Jennifer Martinez treasurer. Their first act, void all fines, issue an apology, and offer me a paid contract to keep plowing. We agreed on a fair rate. The lawsuit was dropped. My legal fees were reimbursed. Not long after, Detective Sarah Vaughn from the sheriff's office knocked on my door. She was investigating financial discrepancies under the old board. Turns out Deborah and Robert had been embezzling funds, nearly $60,000 gone. Susan hadn't known. She'd just been the enforcer. Charges were filed. Gerald, finally fed up, filed for divorce. The trial was open and shut. Deborah got 6 years for theft and fraud. Robert got 3. Restitution was ordered. I sat in court as the verdict was read, feeling a weird mix of satisfaction and sadness. Gerald moved to Denver, looking to rebuild his life. With new leadership, Pine Ridge changed. The atmosphere was lighter. We started community cleanups, improved the playground, set up a garden. Amy and Jake stopped by with cookies and a thank you card. "You saved my son," Amy said. "You showed everyone what being a good neighbor means." The years passed. I plowed the roads now under contract. Kids waved signs. "Thank you." Warren Linda flagged me down with coffee. The holiday party was the best anyone remembered. Tom pulled me aside. "We're putting up a plaque for volunteers. This place wouldn't exist without people like you." That winter, I thought a lot about what it all meant. The lesson wasn't in the fighting or the victory, but in the way a community can lose its way and then somehow find it again. The plaque at the entrance read, "A community thrives when neighbors help neighbors." Not about me, about all of us. 8 years later, I sold my house to a young couple starting out. During the walkthrough, the husband said, "This place seems nice." I grinned. "It is now. Wasn't always. Ask your neighbors, they'll tell you." On my last day, Linda gave me a photo album full of old snapshots, snowstorms, barbecues, smiles. "You were important to this place," she said. As I drove away, Pine Ridge looked exactly like a neighborhood should. Kids on bikes, people walking dogs, roads clear and safe. Sometimes the smallest stands, tire tracks in the snow lead to the biggest changes. That was my lesson, my gift, my story. I never set out to be a hero, a whistleblower, any of that. I just didn't want to be punished for helping out. But when you stand up for yourself, sometimes you stand up for everyone. Sometimes the right thing is the hard thing, but it's still right. If you ever find yourself staring down a petty tyrant with a manila folder full of ridiculous fines, remember this: communities aren't built by rules. They're built by people who care. That's what saved Pine Ridge. That's what made it home. So let me ask, what do you think? Should communities rely on volunteers, or should everything come with a contract and a price tag? Have you ever been punished for trying to do the right thing? Share your story. I'll be reading.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video.